Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining us today. We like to seek the blessings of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna Balaram, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, and Guru Maharaj, and also the assembled devotees, so we can look at these great personalities who govern this universe. And today we'll start with Lord Brahma. So he's one of the Gunavatars. In this material world, there are three principal deities. They're also called the Trimurti, literally means three deities. They correspond to God's functions of creation, sustenance, and destruction. So creation is Lord Brahma. He's in charge of Rajogun, the quality of passion, because you've got to get things done when you're creating. You have to have some passion. So Brahma is in charge of that mode. Lord Vishnu is a maintainer, and he's in charge of Satogun. So if you want to maintain, you have to be very cool, collected, and Lord Vishnu is in charge of that mode. And Shiva, who is the destroyer, is in charge of Tamagun, which is mode of ignorance. Destruction means ignorance. So Lord Shiva is in charge of that mode. It's not that he is ignorant. He's not. He's in charge of it. Of these, only Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead. Brahma is a jiva, or ordinary living entity, who is nonetheless very pure and powerful. And Shiva is practically the same as Vishnu, except that when Vishnu interacts with the material nature, he transforms into Shiva. So this is something we'll talk about more on Monday, Lord Shiva. Today we want to focus on Brahma. Brahma is the title given to the engineer and manager of the universe. He is the first created entity within the universe. And he's not born from the womb. He's born on top of a lotus flower. So almost self-manifested. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in his role as Vishnu, creates the material world. He then empowers a Brahma to act as the engineer and manager within each universe. Of all the demigods in charge of generating various species of life and managing universal affairs, Brahma is the chief. Brahma is also the original spiritual mentor of everyone within the universe. Krishna entrusts him with the sum total of all knowledge. That's sum total of all knowledge is the Vedas. Veda means knowledge, by which everyone can attain success in life and ultimately return to the spiritual world. Brahma, in turn, sees to it that the Vedic knowledge is spread everywhere by his representatives. This mission is known as the Brahma Sampradaya, or school of theistic thought originating from Brahma. The first tier of universal management consists of three executive heads. So we've talked about that, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So this is how from Krishna comes all the different expansions, starting from Balaram, then the quadruple expansions of Sankarsan, Vasudeva, Padumna. From Sankarsan comes Narayan, and then there's a second quadruple expansion. From the second Sankarsan, the three Purushas come. Firstly, Maha Vishnu, Karanadakshay Vishnu. So he is the cause of the primary creation, Maha Vishnu. When he is lying on the ocean, casual ocean, and he breathes out, from the pores of his skin, millions and millions of universes come out as he's breathing out. And it is said that one of his breaths is equal to a life of a universe. So when he breathes out, these universes come out of his body. When he breathes in, all the universes go back into his body. And his one breath is equal to a life of a universe, or the life of Brahma. Each of the three are such powerful controllers that they are sometimes given equal status within Vedic literature, and inaccurately called the Hindu Trinity by Western scholars. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Vishnu is God of the full expansion of Krishna, whereas Brahma is a finite soul, and Shiva is in a category of his own, slightly less than the Supreme Lord. Both Brahma and Shiva are servants of Vishnu, empowered by him for universal work. And we talked about this yesterday or day before, how the number of qualities defines the individuals, the categories. So Brahma, like us, has 50 qualities, but he has them in full. Shiva has 55, Vishnu has 60, Krishna has 4 more than Vishnu. When a living entity has 50 qualities fully manifest, he is eligible to become Brahma. When the living entity comes from the spiritual world, then as his level of purity is very high, he's likely to be given the post of Brahma. So if somebody who's just coming from the spiritual world back to the material world, or to the material world, because he is very powerful, he's just been in the spiritual world, he may be given the post of Brahma. And if there is no such suitable living entity who's capable of acting as Brahma, then Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, himself manifests as Brahma and acts accordingly. So sometimes it may happen, there may not be a qualified Jiva to act as Brahma. So Vishnu takes that position. So the roles, Vishnu is in charge of the primary creation and maintenance. Brahma is in charge of secondary creation, and Shiva is in charge of destroying this universe. And they're working under these powerful controllers are many demigods or devas empowered to fulfill universal duties. As departments within a local government manage the delivery of water and electricity, the devas oversee the material world. We should not mistakenly worship the devas as God. We are indebted to them, but they supply life's necessities on God's behalf using his energies. And we can pay our debt to them by worshipping him, Krishna or Vishnu. By satisfying Krishna, all his servants are satisfied. So this is something that we discussed, how to water the root and the whole tree becomes satisfied. Worship the Lord and all the devas become happy. According to Vedic description, Brahma is the first form that emerges from Ishwar in the beginning of creation with specific nature, aspects, and functions. In Vedic literatures, we find a cosmic calendar that shows a cycle of ages, how to break out of it. Now, Krishna has three main energies: his internal energy, his external energy, which is the material world, and his marginal energy, which is us. So his internal energy is the spiritual world, external is this temporary world, and marginal is the living entities like us. Souls are marginal because they can dwell either in the spiritual kingdom, serving Krishna in bliss and knowledge, or in the material world, forgetting Krishna in darkness and suffering. So one of the Krishna's pastimes is to emanate, sustain, and reabsorb the material creation in periodic cycles. And this Krishna does in the persons of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are called Gunavatars. Material nature acts in three ways or three modes. So when there is construction or creation, construction, generation, procreation, material nature acts in the mode of passion. When there's sustenance, maintenance, preservation, endurance, that's in the mode of goodness. And then when there's destruction, decay, dissolution, devastation, then nature acts in the mode of ignorance. So what is this creative process? The first Purush is Karana Daksha Vishnu. That's the one we were looking at the picture of. From his skin holes, innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purush, i.e. Vishnu, enters as Garbhadaksha Vishnu, the second Vishnu. He is lying within this half of the universe, which is full with the water of his body. A lotus sprouts from Vishnu's navel, and then Brahma, known as a self-born Swayambhuva, was born at the top of the lotus. So the Lord is lying down, and the lotus flower comes from his navel or the stem at the top. The flower is there with Brahma on top. However, Brahma, situated on top of and center of the lotus, could not see the world. While moving his eyes in the four directions to see, he obtained four heads. So he was looking, and in this way he got the four heads. It's known as the four-headed Brahma. Brahma's bewilderment about the creation reveals that it is difficult to understand the mystery of creation by mental speculation. And Brahma's power to create is not his own, but coming from the Lord. So he was very confused what to do, even though he's the topmost living being. And so Brahma contemplated, who am I, situated at the top of this lotus? Where from has it sprouted? There must be something from which it is originating. He entered the lotus stem and could not trace out the root. Giving up on his unsuccessful search, he came back to the top of the lotus and meditated on the Lord. After 100 years, human years of meditation, he heard tapa, tapa. And that means austerity, do austerity. And that's what he started to do. And Saraswati, the goddess of Lakshmi, the goddess of Narsingha, gave him the Gopal mantra, Kling Krishna Govinda Gopinam Rava. And he meditated on Golok, and eventually he received darshan of the Lord. So this is the first created living being becoming self-realized. So this Divya Shakti, Divya Saraswati, is distinct from Saraswati, the wife of Brahma. So this Divya Saraswati is the wife of Lord Vishnu or Narsingha. She's a divine spiritual goddess, an expansion of Radharani, Krishna's internal energy. The luster of the transcendental body of the Lord mocked the beauty of the coral mountain. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness and was properly ornamented. So this is the vision that Brahma had of the Supreme Lord. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. Seeing all this, Brahma concluded that he is Lord Hari. In this way, the Lord inspired Brahma with a desire to create, who began to offer prayers to the Lord. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. Oh, sorry, we've done that. Brahma, who is the master of all the demigod engineers, engaged in the perfect design and working of the universal order. So he immediately started working on the design, given the knowledge by the Supreme Lord. Within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmlok or Satyalok. Downwards from the earthly planetary system, there are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. So this is a little idea of the Lord giving the transcendental knowledge to Brahma. So this is four-headed Brahma seated on top of the lotus, and there's a stem. And he's looking around, can't find anything. He eventually starts to meditate. and becomes self-realized by having darshan of the Supreme Lord after getting the Gayatri mantra from Divya Saraswati. Using the ingredients furnished by Krishna and following Krishna's blueprints, Brahma constructs the material universe. He first creates the first four sons, the Kumaras, to help him with expansion of the universe. They are described as the first mind-born sons. But they refuse his order to procreate. Instead, they devoted themselves to worshipping Brahman and to practice the path of celibacy. That made Brahma furious, and from his anger came Rudra. So here are the four Kumaras. They didn't want to follow the order of the father and get entangled in this world. And Brahma became angry. As a result, Rudra came from his forehead. Okay. Brahma then proceeded to create from his mind another 7 sons, the Prajapatis, who became the fathers of human race. Since all these sons were born from his mind, they're called Manasaputra, sons of Brahma. Who are they? Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulatsya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrugu, Vashisht, Daksha, Narad. You may recognize most of their names because we looked at them recently as part of the Saptarishis. Swambhu, Manu, and Satarupa were generated from his body. Okay. Bhagavad Gita 8:17 tells us about the massive length of Brahma's day and night. So this is really quite shocking. Sasya yuga paryantam ahuryad brahmano vidu ratrim yuga sahasrantam teho ratra vido jana. By human calculation, 1,000 great ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's day. Such is also the duration of his night. So one of his days is equal to 4.32 billion years. That's 12 hours. And 2 of these, day and night, is 1 day of Brahma, 2 kalpas, equal to 8.64 billion years. And 30 days of Brahma is 259 billion years. 12 months is 3 trillion years. 50 years is 156 trillion years. And 2 pradhas, which is the whole life of Brahma, is 311 trillion 40 billion years. This is inconceivable. If we look at one Mahayug we'll talk about in a little while, that's only 43.2 seconds for Brahma. And 1 second of Brahma is equal to 100,000 human years. So 100,000 human years pass here, that's 1 second of Brahma. This is the Mahayug, 4.3 million years, which includes Satyayug, Tretayug, Dwapayug, Kaliyug. There's 71 of those in 1 day of Brahma. And that's also equal to 1 life of Manu. So 1 life of Manu is equal to 306 million years. There's 14 Manus in 1 day of Brahma. And 4.3 billion years is 1 day of Brahma. So there's a lot of Manus who appear in the day of Brahma. In 1 lifetime of Brahma, there's 500,000 avatars just in 1 lifetime of Brahma. Huge. This is just giving an idea of, in diametrical form, 1 day of Brahma is very tiny in the whole creation of life of Brahma. And then this is basically one mantara. And then here we have the Divya Yugs. And one of those Maha Yug, all 4 yugas, is only a very tiny part. of Manvantara's life. It's really inconceivable. So I'm not going to go into real detail here because it's quite detailed. But we are currently, where are we at the moment? Which year are we in Brahma's life? We're in the first day of the 51st year. It's known as Shweta Varaha Kalpa. And already within this day, 6 Manvantaras have passed. We're in the 7th Manvantara, Vaivasvata Manvantara. And within that, already 27 Mahayugs have passed. So Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali Yuga. We are in the 28th Mahayuga. And this is the 28th Kali Yuga in this Manvantara. Then we worked out roughly the time it is now in Brahmalok is 1128. And roughly for the next 100,000 years, it will be 1128 and 1 second. So this is, again, just putting all into a number format, what we just talked about. Very, very incredible numbers. On a grand cosmic scale, Lord Brahma is an overseer. He manages the process of creation within this whole universe. At the beginning of each of his days, all varieties of forms appear. When his night comes, there is a partial annihilation until the next day, when he sets everything in motion all over again. Although Brahma lives for such a vast span of time, has such awesome responsibilities, we can get a rough idea of what his life is like. Brahma starts his day by meditating on the Supreme Lord. He prays that he may engage in this Lord's service in the creation of the material world. And that he prays, I may not be materially affected by my works, for thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being creator. So Brahma is basically praying, let me do my work without getting a false ego, because I am the creator. It might get to my head that I am doing so much for you, my dear Lord, but please protect me from my ego getting too big. Although he holds such an exalted place in our universe, Brahma acknowledges God's supremacy. He doesn't want to become illusioned into thinking that he is independently powerful. He wants to remember always that the original cause of everything is Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just as a gardener does not create the seeds, but simply sows and waters them to make a garden grow, so Brahma does not create life, the jiva, the soul, but receives power from the Supreme Lord to place certain souls in a certain type of body. That's all it is. So at the beginning of his day, Brahma places each of one of us, each individual spiritual soul, into a particular body. That depends on our karma and our desires. As Brahma's day wears on, we transmigrate from one body to another, sometimes to the upper planetary systems, and sometimes to the lowest ones. Sometimes to the body of a pigeon, sometimes to the body of a prince. Until after 4.32 billion Earth years have passed, Lord Brahma's day ends. Then we go into a dormant state until his next day begins, and the whole cycle begins again. So this is going on again and again and again and again. All of this may seem fantastic to us, but as Einstein learned some years ago, time is relative. Take, for example, an amoeba, a very small germ, whose lifespan is less than an hour. If we could explain our lifespan to an amoeba, just think how flabbergasted the amoeba would be. In the same way, although we may be astounded by Brahma's lifespan, to him, it seems quite normal. And if anything, it's very short. Brahma, however, sees our futile wanderings and feels compassion. He sees us suffering from various types of miseries, anxiety, anger, disease, insomnia, natural disturbances, because of our forgetfulness. The material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. He assures us. So really, the soul does not undergo any of these material miseries. But because we are identifying with the body, it's as if we are going through the suffering. But the soul doesn't go through the suffering. Still, many of us refuse to hear about our actual identity and our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And as a result, we keep on suffering in this material world. His consort, Saraswati, goddess of learning, and is Gayatri, and also Savitri. She's identified as a separate personality, although sometimes Savitri and Saraswati are regarded as the same person. He has many names: Hiranyagarbha, cosmic germ, Viraj, or Prajapati, the Lord of people, Pitama, the father of fathers, Vidhi, the ordainer, Lokesh, ruler of the world, Dhrita, sustainer, Vishwakarma, architect of the universe. There's another Vishwakarma who is also, we will look at his life at some point. Kanja, waterborn. Brahma is commonly depicted as follows: a red or golden complexioned, bearded man with four heads and hands. His four heads represent the four Vedas and points to the four cardinal directions. His hands hold no weapons, rather symbols of knowledge and creation. In one hand, he holds the Vedic text of Vedas. Another, he holds Mala, symbolizing time. Another, he holds Surva, which is a laden type, symbolizing means to feed the sacrificial fire. So this is the wooden spoon. And another hand, last hand, he holds the Kamandalu, the water pot, symbolizing the means where all creation emanates from. So this is an idea. There is bearded, four-headed, four arms, water pot, Vedic scriptures. Here's got the lotus flower and then the beads. So what did we have? He hasn't got the sacrificial fire, the wooden spoon he hasn't got here. His four mouths credited with creating the four Vedas. He sits on a lotus dressed in white or red or pink. So here is yellow. He's shown in a meditative mood, lost in his thoughts with eyes half closed. The vehicle of Brahma is a swan. Okay, we don't have a vehicle there. A beautiful, graceful bird which symbolically represents the buddhi or intelligence, discriminating intelligence. There is one major temple dedicated to him in Pushkar. So why is there only one temple? He's not worshipped throughout the world. That we'll talk about, I think, another time when we're looking at the pastimes of Savitri. Some consider him to be worshipped indirectly through the chanting of the Gayatri mantra, since Gayatri is one of his consorts. Many pastimes are depicted in the scriptures regarding his interaction with the Supreme Lord. Often he would go to pray to the Lord Vishnu with the demigods, because the demigods are being harassed and they're looking for protection from Vishnu. So he would be going to Lord Vishnu with the demigods to seek the protection of the Lord. He was involved in the kidnapping of the gopas and the calves. We talked about that a couple of days ago. And yeah. He also met Lord Krishna at Dwarka. So this is a really interesting pastime. We haven't gone through that in any particular detail. So just a summary. One day he desired to see Lord Krishna in Dwarka. So the four-headed Brahma went to Dwarka and he knocked on the door, and the gatekeepers came and said, "Who are you?" "I am Brahma. Tell the Lord I've come to see him." So the gatekeepers went to Lord Krishna and told him, "Brahma is here." "Oh," Krishna says, "Which Brahma?" "Oh." The gatekeepers went back to the Lord, to Brahma, and they asked him, "Which Brahma are you?" And Brahma was surprised. He thought, what do you mean, which Brahma I am? I thought there's only one Brahma. Tell him I am the four-headed Brahma. And Lord Krishna, then he allowed him in. And there you go. There he is. Lord Brahma is there. Can you see him? He's a little deity here. And when he saw what Krishna did next, amazed him. Krishna called upon all the other Brahmas to come from all the other universes. And one by one they came. Some Brahmas had 10 heads, some had 20, 40, 100 million heads. And Lord Krishna explained to Brahma that you are in charge of the smallest universe. That's why you only have 4 heads. Other Brahmas have many more heads because their universes are far, far bigger, and they need more intelligence to continue with the creation process. So that humbled Brahma, because initially he was thinking, I am the only Brahma, I am the only creator. This is fascinating. It humbled him down. And there's another pastime where with Adhik Mas, Lord Brahma goes with Vishnu as well to see Lord Krishna, which is quite an amazing pastime, which we talk about during Purushottam Mas. So, and there's a pastime of why he's not worshipped generally, which we will talk about when we look at one of his consorts. So I wanted to stop there. If there are any questions or any comments, this is a good time to ask or say anything you like. Yes, Praveen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I fall asleep because it's so heat. I was watching. I can't see too much on the screen. Then my eyes get closed, but I have to see. And I'm reading with it as you're reading. In the starting, you said something about, was it Vishnu or Shiva? You said when he's breathing, he get millions of universe comes out, and then they all go back in his body. So when you say universe comes out, it is like, is it like people, or is it everything, insect and like all the alive things in the world?
What comes out, let me just go back.
When he's breathing. Here, look,
basically the universal eggs come out. These universes come out from his body, and within those universes are situated all the jivas, all of the ingredients for creation. And in every universe, he again incarnates as the second Vishnu. And that second Vishnu is known as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From him, the Brahma is born. And then Brahma is given the facility, the ingredients to do the creation. So within his body, Vishnu's body, everything is there. And we are in there as well. And as soon as he breathes out, and we enter all the different, we are within the eggs, these universal eggs.
In his body.
In his body. But then when we come out, we're out. And then Brahma assigns us a certain body, depending on our karmic our karma and our desires. Okay. Yeah, it's very complex.
Yeah, but it's nice to know. Like, it's so nice, you know. I'm taking interest, and sometimes I just, when I'm not doing anything, I'll just put the video on and start reading what you have read in the afternoon. And it's nice. It's quite interesting. I know it will take long for me to get into it.
Oh, it takes long for everyone. It's not a small thing. It's pretty.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good. Anybody else? Oh, Surinder, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Dandavad
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
Nitai Gaura Haribol,
Hare Krishna.
Dandavad to all the Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, there is a nice verse by Lord Brahma in Prapana Jivanamritam, and I would like to share it, yes?
Yeah. Please.
Nidhaturapi Hari Sambandhi Pashvadi Janma Prarthana Tadastu me natha sa bhuri bhago bhavetra vanyatra tu tirascham yenaham ekopi bhavajjananam bhutva nisheve tava padapalavam. Lord Sri Brahma, yes? Even the universal creator Brahma prays to be born as an animal or a bird, if that is conducive to the service of Lord Hari. So then with this explanation, there is a Bengali verse by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as follows. E Brahma janme va anya kona bhave pashu pakshi hare janmi tomara ve bhave e matra asha tava bhakta gana sange thaki tava pada seva kari nanarange. In this life, as Lord Brahma, or in any other place, if I am born as beast or bird, that will be your grace. My only aspiration is to be with your servants and in your pastimes serve your feet as one of your attendants. Nitai Gaura Haribol Prabhu, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Yes, good prayers by Lord Brahma, because it shows his devotional inclination. And he's, of course, the head of this sampradaya. So we are very fortunate to have a Brahma who is a pure devotee of the Lord. So this is actually, I didn't include that in the presentation, but actually he is the head of this sampradaya. And,
yes, and it's very humble statement.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's always emphasizing Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Hambajami.
Yeah, that's
main
right.
instruction which we try to follow. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaura Haribol. Thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, we only included a snippet of Lord Brahma. He's actually a phenomenal personality. But that's all there is really time for. And there's only so much we can absorb as well. So, Lord Brahma ki jai. Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Sampadaya ki jai.